Trump just chickened out again when it came to immigration and deportation. He is wilting under the pressure of public approbation and attacks and protests. They are working. I'm so proud of everybody that's in the streets for a defiant yet peaceful march related to No King's Day. And now you got Donald Trump, who's decided that, as Gavin Newsom said recently, it is bad politics to go after the farm community, the meat packing community, the food community, the hospitality community. And now he's given out a new order to ICE not to deport or raid in the agriculture, hospitality industries, because chasing undocumented people through farms and through factories and through hotels is not a good look for a president, especially as farmers are telling him, the hospitality industry is telling him it's bad for business. So suddenly all of those quote unquote criminal undocumented, they have a new name. You want to know what the new name is for the Trump administration? See, they know the difference between criminals and undocumented because they have a term for it. It's called non-criminal collateral. Non-criminal collateral is their euphemism for somebody who's undocumented, but that is working a living wage, who is working hard, who is part of the people doing the dirty jobs in America and deserve to have a path to citizenship. Non-criminal collateral shall be ignored in raids. Stephen Miller is the one that is the Trump whisperer in the area of immigration. We're going to talk about him next here on Legal AF. Stephen Miller, whose title does not adequately describe how much power he's exerting over the mind, whatever's left of it, of Donald Trump. He's put up a chart that he wanted 3,000 arrests a day related to immigration and deportation. 3,000 a day. Based on that, it shot up to 2,000 a day. We saw what's going on in California with over 700 Marines violating federal law in helping law enforcement arrest people. And now Donald Trump has decided that the poll numbers are bad, public pressure is working, and that he wants to take away a speaking point, a talking point of one of his chief political rivals going up against him, Gavin Newsom in California, and he's declared a truce. He's not going to go after the non-criminal collateral. I got another term for them. The working middle class, the working poor who happen to be undocumented, who are looking for a path. So he's telling them to back off all of these things. Against this backdrop of political pressure, when we talk about how do we affect change, how do we hold Donald Trump and MAGA accountable? Yes, in the courts, in the courthouses, but yes, in the streets during peaceful protests. And as I came onto the air, we've got the new reporting that 4 people were shot, all Democrats, including husbands and wives, killing 2 lawmakers in Minnesota in what appears to be a politically motivated, targeted assassination. An assassination attempt with people who are dead, including chief lawmakers who work with Tim Walz in Minnesota. It's already being tagged, and I'm sure it's true, as politically motivated, as somebody impersonated law enforcement. Does that happen during the Biden administration? Why are all these assassination attempts of federal judges and of Democratic politicians only when Trump is in office? Because he fuels the fire, because he wants turmoil and chaos, because he uses bellows to blow the embers and to put each of us Americans at each other's throats. He wants us at each other's throats because that's the only way he can survive and thrive. He thrives. He consumes this negative energy, this hatred, because it animates his presidency. Don't you see that? That's why he's the same as the Russian trolls, the Iranian trolls, the North Korean trolls who invade our social media to use artificial intelligence, AI and deepfakes and other false narratives and false facts in order to put us at each other's throats, to create a seething cauldron in America to divide and then conquer from within. And Donald Trump is their perfect president. So let me just read to you on this particular issue what we are seeing in his taco Trump always chickens out or Trump always caves moment. Effective today, the Trump administration released. Please hold on all worksite enforcement investigations, operations on agriculture, including aquaculture and meatpacking plants, restaurants, and operating hotels. Why? Not because they're no longer undocumented, not because in his mind they're no longer criminals, although they never were, maybe a handful, but we use due process to ferret that out. It's because he's feeling the pressure from industries. That's why I have to report on another abrupt shift, as the New York Times called it, in Trump policy. Another whiplash moment, because Donald Trump feeds on cable news and feeds on people phoning him. Whoever phones him last changes his mind. And so he's figured out it's bad for politics, bad for business, to be chasing people through factories, through hotel lobbies, trying to deport them. Look, before he ran for president, he had undocumented working at Mar-a-Lago and all of his hotel projects. They brought in somebody as he was running for office, a lawyer, to advise, and they ended up sweeping them out. So he didn't have, but in all the other years, a large percentage of their personnel in the Trump properties were undocumented. So you've got this world, this cauldron, this seething cauldron that Donald Trump has created on purpose, which leads to the assassination of lawmakers who are Democrats, who leads to what we're watching happen in the streets of California in violation of the Posse Comitatus Act, where a president of the United States is using the power and might and the awesome abilities of the U.S. military against people, American citizens on domestic soil. The email that was sent by Donald Trump explained that the investigations involving human trafficking, money laundering, drug smuggling into these industries are okay, but non-criminal collaterals should not be harassed. Look, there's an entire doctrine that Stephen Miller developed that Donald Trump is implementing that centers around Home Depot and the fact that we've all recognized over the last 20 or 30 years that there's a lot of potentially undocumented workers, handyman, day laborers hanging around your local Home Depot. And that's where Stephen Miller wants all the operations to happen. Wait till Donald Trump has to amend and update his new proposal, his new policy to include not nailing, no pun intended, the housing industry or the building industry, because we've chased all these people underground. One Texas developer in Houston at the beginning of the Trump administration said that 50% of the construction industry is undocumented. And if they're going to go all underground, which is where Donald Trump is pushing them, I know for a fact, not naming names, that there are plenty of people in Miami where I live who are undocumented, who are working all the dirty jobs, domestic and otherwise. And they are staying out of Ubers. They're staying away from bus stops because they're worried about getting picked up. They don't want to be anywhere in public. They're not going near airports or anything else. And that's a sad commentary of what Donald Trump has done with what was once a great America. In his effort to make America great, it's just a cult of personality. That's what's on display on Saturday with his fascist Soviet-style Victory Day march down Pennsylvania Avenue with our troops. And talk about our troops allowing themselves to be co-opted for political theater and cult theater is disgusting. People should have resigned from military brass, but Donald Trump has his sycophants and bootlickers in all these major positions. Anybody that had any courage, anybody that had any brass, resigned or retired or left. And now who's left? They take up a lieutenant general. They make him a 4-star general to run the Joint Chiefs. They get rid of anybody that has any real valor, any real courage. And so who's going to stand up to him? That's what we're watching. A whole bunch of paper soldiers surrounding Donald Trump, none of which will take on Donald Trump. That's what he wanted. That was the lesson he learned from his first term, along with the immunity decision from the United States Supreme Court. There is a link between the seething cauldron generated by Donald Trump in order to feed on it, in order to justify his crush of resistance and rebellion, and what we just saw happen in Minnesota. And now Donald Trump watching the news, but being given information and advice by weak people, weaklings, and cowards. But he can succumb to political protest. So we got to continue to follow it here on Legal AF. We got to continue to grow our fellowship. We got to continue to speak truth to each other. We got to go into the streets in acts of civil disobedience, non-violence. This is our Selma, Alabama moment, not our Rodney King rioting 1992 Los Angeles moment. This is our Selma, Alabama crossing the bridge moment together. And that's what we're doing here, joining together on this community. Take a moment, hit the free subscribe button, help us continue to grow what we're doing here. Until my next hot take and reporting, I'm Michael Popok. I'm Michael Popok, and I got some big news for our audience. Most of you know me as the co-founder of Midas Touches Legal AF and the Legal AF YouTube channel, or as a 35-year national trial lawyer. Now, building on what we started together on Legal AF, I've launched a new law firm, the POPAC Firm, dedicated to obtaining justice through compassionate and zealous legal representation. At the Popok Firm, we are focused on obtaining justice for those who have been injured or damaged by a life-altering event by securing the highest dollar recoveries. I've been tirelessly fighting for justice for the last 35 years, so my own law firm organically building on my Legal AF work just feels right. And I've handpicked a team of top-tier trial fighters and settlement experts throughout all 50 states known as big auto injury attorneys who have the know-how to beat heartless insurance companies, corporations, government entities, and their attorneys. Big Auto's attorneys working with my firm are rock stars in their respective states and collectively responsible for billions of dollars in recoveries. So if you or a loved one have been on the wrong side of a catastrophic auto, motor vehicle, rideshare, or truck accident, suffered a personal injury, or been the victim of medical malpractice, employment harassment or discrimination, or suffered a violation of your civil and constitutional rights, then contact the Popok Firm today at 1-877-POPOK-AF or by visiting my website at www.thepopokfirm.com and fill out a free case evaluation form. And if we determine that you have a case and you sign with us, we don't get paid unless you do. The Popok Firm, fighting for your justice every step of the way.